Addressing the Taíno Genetic Journey Part 2. Genetics meet the historical. Number 1. Why were ancient Israelites exiled? In this case, the tale is taken from ancient scriptures. However, the female haplotypes of ancient peoples of the Levant correspond to ancient North Eurasian and Siberian types, to which the male Israelite haplogroup lineage seems to have discontinued, being left as only an admixture. This means Israelites, Joctonites, and Edomites are Asiatic components, greater depending on the region. Kings of the Sumerian Mesopotamic nations of Assyria, Salmanassar V began with their expulsion, and it was further cemented and finished by Sargon II, his successor. Facts. There's a people in Asia that still claim to be ancient Israelites, and appear to be similar in phenotype to many of the Arawak South Amerindians and look slightly Mongolic. This being said, Israelites are present in the peoples in Asia that claim to be a branch of the Manasseh tribe, yet still appear entirely Asiatic, especially South Asians. South Asia, place where Joctonites, who are also part African Canaanite, settled. When colonizers entered America for the first time, some tribes recited ancient Hebrew scriptural references and even told the colonizers they were one of the lost tribes, and addressed the location of the other lost tribes similar to them. Ancient Hebrews and ancient Semites would appear more Asiatic than the peoples of the Levant and the Middle East today, especially when referring to ancient Semites from Israel. Others also, but not of the 12 tribes, being the Edomites and the Joctonites, as not all Semites are Hebrew, and not all Hebrews are Israelites. And last, the African variety that lived among them in Sion. These all would eventually become Sionites of the land of Shinar. Ancient Phoenician-type cuneiform was found in Puerto Rico, considering Phoenicians are predecessors to Philistines, predecessors of Canaanites, and together with the 13-foot skeletons found in the island of Vieques, the island of Guadalupe by Puerto Rico, Caruqueira, where the sea-raiding giants would keep their wives. The story of the Mexica Kinametsin giants confirmed the Canaanite influence. Number 2. What happens when we try to claim that Native Americans are entirely black Africans? First, we have to understand what is a native, or even an Asian for that matter. The base for all is an African lineage, and a Hebrew ancient Semite lineage that was created when Sionites or Canaanites mixed with the Joctonites. The base for all is an African lineage, and a Hebrew ancient Semite lineage that was created when Sionites or Canaanites mixed with the Joctonites from most likely in Midian that was also inhabited with other Semites called Edomites. Later, Kenizzites in the Arabian Peninsula before even most of Asia was inhabited. Populations and ethnicities need population sources. Asians are a mixture of primarily half African, half Semites, just to say it in a way more easier to understand. Therefore, genetically we are safe to say that that's the origin of all the Asiatic lineages, for except a few others to the north that were created upon the admixture of that of Scythians, and ancient Eurasian lineages that also correspond to modern-day Europeans, especially of the haplotypes R, even found in early Native American sites, clades of haplogroup Q. Number 3. These are the earliest population sources that became bigger by endogamy, but even in earlier times these were already intermarrying. The Scythians, such as the earlier Greeks, married with ancient Egyptians, and with the patriarchs of the ancient Israelites, mainly wives. Populations need population sources. Around in Sion to Midian, these ancient populations mixed and spread to East Asia, becoming literally the Chinese. Before reaching Asia, they were in the land of Shinar, in ancient Sumer, or Shinar. Ancient Joctonite and ancient Israelite components should also suggest dark skin among Paleo-Siberians, considering the Neo-Siberian of today aren't that dark. The color of the Paleo-Siberians aligned with the genetic entry of the Americas, that also aligned with the exiles of the Israelite tribes exactly to the north. Number 4. In my story creation, The Boricua Record, the characters role-playing correspond to the haplotypes found in the archaeological sites that also aligns exactly with the ancient histories. Number 5. Israelite tribes spread their DNA along the world and left the Levant way after the Jokhtanites did. Number 6. Seafaring peoples of the Mediterranean could have possibly also entered parts of the Caribbean through the Atlantic. However, their male haplotypes would not coincide with that of the male haplotype of the Taíno. Therefore, it is most likely Ibero-Maurusians such as the Guans should share a haplogroup with the Taíno through the Iber ancestry and ancient North Eurasians, but retained an African male lineage E1b1. This suggests Native American men most likely from ancient Kemet, also known as ancient Egypt, whereas the male lineage for the Afontova-Gora and Malta Buret culture haplogroup R is considered the male lineage of Joktan along with haplogroup Q. This means that the ancestry of the most roughest, biggest peoples of North Asia and Siberia and the male warriors of Joktan, while male haplogroup C to the right is totally Mongolic in origin, meaning male inherited haplotypes Q of Semites, then subclade R and C and D of Africans went through a mixture event together or in extreme proximity. Number 7. Israelites and Joktanites, and even the Edomite Kenizzite to an extent, can be considered Hebrew because in this case, Hebrew would mean a descendant of a patriarch named Heber, an ancient early Semite. This is why scholars are easy to connect Eber to the Hebrew, to the Iber, to the Hibaro, and even word Siberian. That being said, many peoples derive strongly from the ancient Semites, which we would have never imagined, but they are. When in fact, one of the main haplotypes carried in the Middle East today are of European origin, male haplotype J1, and in other places like the Mediterranean and the Balkans, J2. Therefore, much of what used to be the ancient Middle East is elsewhere in the modern time. Number 8. All these early population groups mentioned are already classified into their haplotypes by the Harvard geneticist Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, but haplogroup migration pattern was already confirmed before that scientific analysis. These haplogroup patterns correspond exactly with the Mesopotamic era groups. The same migrations are also suggested in ancient scripture. Number 9. Ancient North Eurasian DNA is seen among the ancient Japanese, the Jomon people who have degrees of Joktanite, African, and European DNA through the ancient North Eurasians, and the early Melanesian, the Minatogawa. These peoples that came in through the south are totally an ancient mirror of what the Joktanites would have looked like. Part Joktanite, part Canaanite, the children of Dikla, a Joktanite, the first settler of Japan, who share affinity to the Paleo-Siberians and to the Native Americans alike. Number 10. Information extracted for this analysis all connect and confirm each other. Ancient scriptures, the ancient Chinese, ancient Arabic, the Hebrew, and the Israelites, who may be a base for the basal Eurasians who became the Asians in general, this being just over 3,000 years ago. Edomites of Esau, and the Kenizzites through Kenaz, who might have been mixing already with the peoples of Madai, Togarma, and Ashkenaz, south of Caucasus, who correspond to early European lineages, ancient Greco-Roman, ancient Egypt, or Kemet, Sogdia, Parthia, the Kushan, the Japanese Shinto religion, the Maurusian, the Hindu, the ancestral South Indians, the Malta Buret site, and Afontova-Gora cultures. Histories of the world are taken into consideration, whose histories correspond with early events that also coincide with the genetic analysis. Number 12. Modern science in Harvard has acknowledged the existence of a worldwide flood before the Younger Dryas, an ice age that followed the Paleolithic. Number 13. Neanderthals would coincide with the Kenites right there around the Younger Dryas to the Paleolithic, which would also mean Mesopotamic times through their later expansion from the Middle East outward. This analysis wouldn't account for the Denisovans, who might be earlier renditions perhaps of another distant darker-skinned branch of the Kenites or even Semites from ancient Shinar, and compared to the genomes of modern Pygmies. And the DNA can be seen in Papuans and other peoples of Asiatic origin. These may represent an extreme shortening of the stature among many ancient groups. Their DNA is found in many groups in East Asia, but these still may account with some of the admixtures mentioned previously. However, that's it for this video. Go watch part 1, this is part 2. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is Abaqueto Neborique, and I'll see you on the next video.